Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I want to thank everybody for the kind comments that I received on the part one of the Epstein files, the first breach. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and watching that. And for those that watched the Unrelenting Political Corner last night, I gave a little bit of part two. I didn't do the whole thing because the show ended up going a little longer than we expected. But I wanted to make sure that I followed through with what I said on the first video, that I would do a part two for you guys. So let's go ahead and jump into this because it's going to take about 15 to 20 minutes. And this one is titled Beyond the Breach. It's a presentation on the distraction layers, the cascade into larger disclosures, and the posture of disciplined service. So there are 8 traps that you will encounter, and these are the distraction layers. Now, we've already spoke about what the first breach is and what the first breach isn't. We have spoken of the leverage economy, the true architecture behind these networks. We have spoken of a control structure that shows a controlled breach over an uncontrolled collapse. Now I want to speak about the control structure and what it does next. Because here is what you must understand. Once a wall has been breached, the architects of the wall do not simply surrender. They adapt. And their adaptation takes a very specific form. One we will call the distraction layer. These are not random behaviors. They are predictable defenses. And once you can name them, they lose much of their power over you. So let's start with distraction 1. The obsession with a single name. The first trap is the most natural to the human mind. The fixation on one face, one celebrity, one political figure, as though the entire matter can be resolved by proving or disproving one person's guilt. This is by design. The architecture behind these networks is a web, and a web cannot be dismantled by staring at one strand. If your attention is captured by one symbol, the deeper machinery, those who arranged access, brokered introductions, moved money, and enforced silence, continues undisturbed. Do not let a single name become the whole story. Let me repeat that again. Do not let a single name become the whole story. The truth is a system, and systems are dismantled by seeing relationships, pathways, and repeated mechanisms, not by worshiping or despising one symbol person. Distraction 2, the partisan war. The second trap is the conversion of everything into tribal conflict. When the public is split into 2 shouting camps, the hidden network wins by default. It is one of the oldest tools on this planet. Keep the people in a perpetual argument about which side is more corrupt, while the deeper structure uses both sides when convenient. Moral clarity is not a team sport. Exploitation is wrong. Concealment is wrong. The machinery that protects harm must be dismantled regardless of which costume it wears. Do not let your energy be harvested by identity politics disguised as moral clarity. Distraction 3, the forgery storm. We have entered an era where images, documents, and clips can be manufactured with enough plausibility to ignite outrage before any careful examination occurs. This is not merely noise. This is a tactic. When a true archive exists, the easiest way to weaken its impact is to seed the field with convincing fakes until the public becomes unsure of everything and concludes in exhaustion that nothing can be known. They do not have to hide every truth if they can convince you that the truth is indistinguishable from fiction. The forgery storm is not meant to fool the most disciplined researchers. It is meant to exhaust the average person. It is meant to turn curiosity into cynicism. Distraction 4, the bureaucratic drama. Documents appearing and disappearing, technical errors, sudden removals and repost. Whether these events are caused by incompetence, internal conflict, or intentional sabotage, the effect is the same. Attention shifts away from the content and onto the spectacle. The story becomes the missing item, the vanishing page, the procedural chaos, and the public begins consuming the release as entertainment rather than as a call to dismantle a structure. A missing page is not the point. The point is that the wall has been breached at all, that the existence of the archive has been admitted to the public mind. Distraction 5. The rush to the extreme frame. The fifth distraction is the most tempting for those who have long sensed what others could not see. The urge to leap immediately into the most sensational metaphysics, the most cosmic conclusions, and to present these as the real truth while dismissing the visible, documentable mechanisms that are already enough to dismantle large portions of the machine. There is a place for the greater picture, but when you lead with the most extreme frame, you make it easy for the unprepared to dismiss the entire subject, and easy for gatekeepers to label all inquiry as irrational. The control system is not afraid of wild claims. It is afraid of organized, disciplined inquiry sustained by millions. Allow the public to walk through doors in a sequence they can absorb. Distraction 6, the location fixation. One island, one building, one symbol site, as though the entire network is contained in a single geographic point. This is a child's map of an adult system. The system is distributed through corridors of travel, finance, law, media, philanthropy, academia, and technology. If you chase a single location, you may find evidence of wrongdoing, yes, but you will miss the logistical roots that made wrongdoing sustainable for so long. Do not shrink the story into something the mind can hold comfortably. Allow it to be the web it is. Distraction 7, despair. This may be the most poisonous distraction of all, because it masquerades as realism. The despair voice says, nothing will happen. No one will be held accountable. This is all theater. Sometimes that voice is born of genuine exhaustion. Sometimes it is learned helplessness trained into a people over many generations. And sometimes it is encouraged by those who benefit when you stop pushing. Do not measure success only by immediate outcomes that satisfy the hunger for instant resolution. Measure success by whether the population keeps looking, keeps asking, keeps refusing to be pacified by partial truth. Distraction 8, the vengeance fantasy. The desire for justice is natural. The desire for protection is righteous. But vengeance fantasies are easily manipulated because when a crowd is inflamed, it can be steered towards scapegoats and away from architects. It can be steered into overreaction, which then becomes the justification for censorship, crackdowns, and new surveillance structures disguised as safety measures. The hidden network is skilled at provoking overreaction. Do not hand them that gift. So, these 8 distractions, name chasing, tribal war, the forgery storm, bureaucratic drama, premature extremity, location fixation, despair cycles, and vengeance fantasies are not random. They are the predictable defense of a collapsing secrecy structure. The moment you can name them, you are no longer as easily steered by them. Section 2, why this is only the beginning. Hang on. Having named the distractions, we can now ask the deeper question. If they are scrambling this hard, what are they protecting? What is coming next? What we have witnessed is not the story. It is the opening clause of a longer sentence. A control structure that has been punctured cannot remain stable. And then there are 10 reasons why what follows will be larger. First, the adjacent archive effect. When one body of material is released, it points outward. Every document references organizations, travel corridors, financial channels, handlers, and intermediaries. Each reference is a thread. A thread does not end when it appears. It leads somewhere. The next disclosures often arrive not because someone suddenly became brave, but because the first disclosure creates a trail that can no longer be ignored. People begin to demand the next layer because the first layer makes it obvious. Second, the legitimization of questions. Before the breach, those who sensed what was hidden were dismissed as conspiratorial. But when an official breach occurs, however messy, however partial, certain questions become socially acceptable to ask. And once a question becomes socially acceptable, it becomes difficult to silence without exposing the act of silencing. When a population loses its fear of asking, empires lose control of narration. Third, unsealing momentum. A system built on sealed compartments has used sealing as a protective spell, classified, privileged, sealed for reasons of safety. Those seals have hidden not only what must be protected, but what must be hidden for the controllers to remain safe. Once the public sees one seal lifted, it begins pushing on others. It begins to suspect that sealing has often been a form of institutional self-proclamation. Fourth, the collapse of reputational immunity. For a long time, certain people have been treated as too important to question. Each disclosure wave weakens that spell. When one untouchable becomes touchable, many begin to realize that untouchability was always a shared illusion. And when that illusion cracks, people who were once afraid to speak become less afraid. Fifth, financial corridor exposure. The deepest disclosures are rarely the most sensational. They are often the most quiet on the surface. Transaction, shells, foundations, intermediaries, hidden ownership structures. Yet, these are the arteries of control. The story migrates from what happened to who paid, who enabled, who laundered, who protected, and who benefited. Money trails do not respect reputations. They reveal function. 6. Technology corridor exposure. When a scandal touches influence networks, it naturally touches the machinery that shapes public awareness. Platform policies, algorithmic amplification, controlled narratives, strategic silence. What was boosted? What was hidden? Who was protected? What is labeled misinformation? A network that thrives on leverage also thrives on controlling what a population is allowed to perceive. These are not separate subjects. They are part of the same architecture. 7th, intelligent adjacent corridors. The next natural questions become who knew, who ignored, who protected, who contained investigations. Even when every detail cannot yet be proven, the demand for transparency grows. And that demand pressures other compartments to open. Because a civilization cannot tolerate endless contradictions forever without choosing a side, truth or denial. 8. The revelation of method. In many ways, this is the most important disclosure of all. You are learning not merely that darkness existed, but how it operated. Compromise, silence, reputation control, institutional shielding, the manufacturing of helplessness. A single fact can be debated. A method, once seen, can be applied across countless domains. Suddenly, the public begins recognizing the same choreography in other scandals. Suddenly, the public begins recognizing the same choreography in other scandals, other domains, and other so-called isolated incidents. The spell breaks when the choreography is recognized. 9th, the domino effect of internal fracture. A control structure is not one mind. It is a web of bargains. When the web begins to tear, those bargains become unstable. Those who once relied on mutual secrecy begin to fear one another. Betrayals rise. Rival factions sacrifice one another to preserve themselves. In a collapsing hierarchy, information leaks, not as an act of moral awakening, but as an act of survival. Yet, regardless of motive, the wall continues to crack. This is when birds sing. 10th, the widening of public appetite for reality. Disclosure is not a gift delivered to a passive population. It is a relationship between what is revealed and what the collective is willing to hold. Each wave expands capacity. Each wave normalizes what was once unthinkable. Each wave creates a new baseline for what can be discussed. What once would have been rejected is now considered plausible. What once would have been sealed is now demanded. The puncture exposes the existence of the wall. The wall exposes the existence of the builders. The builders expose the existence of the blueprint. And once the blueprint is seen, the dismantling accelerates because humanity begins to recognize that the world it was given was not the only possible world. Section 3, the posture of disciplined service. So the question becomes, as the disclosure widens, how do we remain useful? How do we avoid being pulled into the traps of distraction and exhaustion? How do we keep our focus on the dismantling of structures rather than the consumption of spectacle? These are not abstract questions. They lead to 10 concrete instructions. First, do not let yourself be carried into arguments and friction, no matter how much you are provoked. When a disclosure wave expands, provocation becomes an industry designed to throw you off balance, to exhaust you, and to divide you from those who are also trying to find their way through a suddenly changing world. Those who benefit from darkness do not fear your intelligence as much as they fear your unity. And unity is not created through agreement on every detail. It is created through shared devotion to truth, protection, and the dismantling of systems that cause harm. Second, be very careful with your research and your sources. Many will bring great revelations, dates, certainties, dramatic promises. Much of it is designed to hook you emotionally rather than inform you wisely. Some of these voices are not malicious. They are simply untrained. Even untrained voices can become conduits for confusion. And in a time like this, confusion is not neutral. It is used. Do not become cynical, but do become wise. Third, be alert to borrowed authority. There are imposters in every information field. Borrowed titles, borrowed credentials, borrowed certainty. This increases during disclosure phase because the hunger for guidance rises. Do not outsource your discernment to any voice that demands your loyalty, your fear, or your dependence. Do not follow those who inflate themselves by diminishing your ability to stand in truth without them. The voices worth trusting will strengthen your capacity to discern, not replace it. Fourth, do not take sides. I don't mean to be passive. I mean, do not allow the old architecture of polarity to recruit you into its camps. Those who understand control know that a population split into camps can be managed indefinitely, because each camp will defend its identity when truth contradicts it. Truth, neither A nor B, as your ultimate authority. Trust only your honest inquiry reveals in the clear light of your own discernment. Fifth, cultivate non-retaliation. Not because darkness should have no consequences, but because retaliation chains you to the vibration of the very structure you're trying to dismantle. The dark network provokes because provocation produces predictability behavior, and predictability behavior is easy to steer. When you can meet offense without retaliating, you demonstrate something the control system cannot manufacture: inner sovereignty. This is not weakness. This is a mastery. This is the quiet strength that dismantles control systems, because control systems rely on emotional predictability. 6. Maintain your spiritual practice. This is not optional in this hour. It is your daily hygiene in a world releasing dense patterns. You do not need elaborate ritual. You need sincerity, consistency, and willingness. Call upon whatever forms of light resonate with you. Return to your inner anchor, and do not allow protection to become paranoia. Protection is clarity. Paranoia is fear with imagination attached. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be steady. 7th, guard your priorities. Your first obligation each day is not to consume the unfolding narrative. Disclosure waves can consume your mind for hours while producing nothing but agitation. And then you arrive at night empty and restless, having fed the beast of the narrative without feeding your own soul. You do not come here to scroll endlessly through darkness. You came to anchor light through your choices, your relationships, your courage to remain kind while truth is intense, and your willingness to live as though a better world is already the template you serve. 8. Practice community discernment. As disclosure intensifies, some around you will become consumed by anger, some by denial, some by sensationalism. Do not abandon them, but do not be pulled into their storms. Offer short, grounded, steady responses. Refuse to be baited. If someone is ready to see, give them one clear thread at a time. You can serve not by winning debates, but by keeping a doorway open for those who are ready to walk through it. 9th, be vigilant about savior energy. In disclosure seasons, the crowd often tries to find one figure to worship, so it does not have to take responsibility for its own awakening. The same impulse that wants a villain to blame also wants a hero to outsource it. Do not feed this impulse in yourself or in others. Appreciate those who do good work, yes, but do not hand them your inner authority. The era you are entering requires mature sovereignty, not devotional dependency. And 10th, prepare for heavy truths with an open heart. Some revelations will break old stories. Some will expose the hollowness of institutions you once trusted. This is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to remove what is false, leaving only what is true and what can be seen by honest eyes. When you feel the weight, return to your simplest anchor. The light is stronger than any structure built against it. No one ultimately wins against what is real. But I want to add a final note to these 10 instructions. Bigger disclosures do not only reveal darkness, they reveal opportunity. Opportunity to rebuild, opportunity to protect the innocent more intelligibly, opportunity to create communities where exploitation cannot hide, opportunity to demand transparency as a cultural norm. The dismantling of old architecture is not only an ending, it is a clearing. Section 4, the arc continues. We've covered a great deal of ground today. We began with the distraction layer, 8 traps deployed by a collapsing secrecy structure to fracture, exhaust, and misdirect the attention of those who are waking up. We moved into 10 pathways through which the first breach leads towards larger disclosures: adjacent archives, legitimized questions, unsealing momentum, collapsed immunity, exposed corridors of finance, technology and intelligence, the revelation of method, internal fracture, and the widening appetite of an entire civilization for reality. And we arrived at 10 instructions, not rules, but a posture. The posture of disciplined service, not the posture of fascination, not the posture of despair, not the posture of tribal conflict, but the posture of someone who came here to be useful and intends to remain so. I want to leave you with a single image. What you are witnessing right now is not the height of the storm. It is the early weather. The unmistakable signal that the pressure is building, that something the old world has kept sealed is moving towards the surface. The first breach was the permission slip for what follows. And what follows will move from visible scandal into less visible corridors. The money routes, the influence infrastructure, the hidden agreements that shaped the modern era. So do not mistake the noise of this moment for the fullness of what is coming. Do not be pacified by the partial. Do not be exhausted by the volumes. Do not be recruited by the distractions. Ask better questions. Cultivate discernment. Stay in service. Trust that once a civilization sustains genuine attention on what has been hidden begins to move towards the light on its own. The door has been opened, and it leads to other doors. And those who keep walking forward will be there when they open. Thank you. I hope this was valuable information for you guys. I know it was a lot that we covered. If you missed something, I recommend going back and replaying the video and making notes of those things. And yes, I am titling this under Epstein Files, but I'm telling you, if you practice what I said in part 1 and part 2, as more disclosures happen, which they will, this will help guide you through that storm. So I just want to say thank you very much. Hope you all have a great weekend, a great rest of the week. And if you're not watching the Unrelenting Political Corner, we do a show every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have an open panel, and we'd love to have you as a guest. So thank you so much for listening. Take care. And just remember, the best is yet to come. Thank you.